Welcome to Tops and Bottoms with Oliver Graves. I'm going to talk about a subject, and there'll be a handful of things I'm going to go over. We're going to talk about the best ones, the ones everyone thinks are the greatest, which are the tops. Then I'm going to go over the not so great ones, maybe the bad ones, which are the bottoms. Although not everyone dislikes bottoms. Some people like bottoms, and that's fine too. You can be a baddie and like a bottom. I like a bottom sometimes. So join me for tops and bottoms. So I had this idea. This is really loud and shiny. I was gonna, this is like a scroll, so it's a roll of foil. I was gonna say the tops and bottoms, like here's the number one. Like I was reading off a thing. Like number one on the tops and bottoms is, number four. It's so loud and really, really shiny, like really ridiculously. I don't think anything I said came through. I feel like all I heard was just noise. So I was gonna try to do something clever with foil, but we're just not gonna use this. That's a lot quieter. We can work with that. Although that would be like everything's a number one or like a blank. So I am a metal fan. I like various different kinds of metals. So today I'm going to go over fictional metals. Ones you might have seen in stories, movies, TV shows, video games, etc. Metals that aren't real, or minerals as they may be. Aluminum is a real one. So that's not on the list. How fun would it have been to have something... Okay, it's fine. We don't need it. So for tops and bottoms, I do 1, 2, 3 for my tops, and then X, Y, Z for the bottoms. We work our way going down, go down. It's always good to go down. And then also it's good to go up when you're a top. So let's start with our X spot. We have Transformium. Transformium was first named and appeared in Age of Extinction Transformers, so it didn't even exist in Transformers prior. We didn't need this. We didn't need an element to name the metals that they use. I think it already existed, Cybertronian, but instead it's Transformium, and it's just more of this Michael Bay garbledy blah, blah, blah. It's the movies. At this point, there's been how many? 3, 4, 5 of these things? No one's sitting there for I'm here for the deep lore of Transformers, and I'm glad that they introduced new elements. No, just stop. Transformium, our X spot. So let's go to our number 3 spot for tops. I'm going to have to edit. I don't want to have to edit, but I'm going to have to edit. Alright, let's start working our way up on tops. Our number 3 spot, we have Mithril. It appears in Lord of the Rings. It also appears in Dungeons and Dragons. It's sort of a magical metal. It's come in different colors, white, blue, green. I've seen a lot of them. It's kind of fun though, because it's like, oh hey, it's not steel, it's not titanium, although I think titanium is the idea that Tolkien had in mind when he first started thinking of it. But you can kind of do anything with it, which is really kind of neat. Working our way back down with our Y spot on our bottoms, space titanium. Yeah, speaking of titanium, Tolkien kind of had that in mind when he thought of Mithril, but he named it something else and kind of could do something else with it. Space titanium is from the Godzilla universe. And I'm like, really? That's the name they came up with. It's not just titanium, it's space titanium. I guess they use it to build Mechagodzilla or do some other stuff with. I guess we're just lucky we found some space titanium. It's just kind of boring to me. Like, okay, you made this cool metal mech thing. and it's made of space. Like, you couldn't have done something else, or we couldn't have just made that out of steel, or you couldn't have made up some new thing that is better named than that. Let's work our way up and go to our number 2 spot for tops and go to Adamantium. Adamantium's from the Marvel Universe. You might know Wolverine. He's got the claws. It's actually used for a lot of other things that you, if you're familiar with the movies and not the comics, be like, hey, wait a minute, that's adamantium? Yeah, it is. Adamantium has gone through a long history, but I think they've solidified, no pun intended there, on it being an alloy that uses vibranium and steel. Ultron is made of adamantium in the comics and other cartoons and such. He's not made of vibranium. It's a more indestructible alloy. And I think they put a lot of elements into it that I really like. I'm not making these puns on purpose, I swear. But the idea that it's indestructible, but then once it is, that's it. You can't mold it. See, that's not the way metals really are. You have steel, you can sharpen it again, you can fix it. But adamantium's like, look, we made it, and that's the done deal. I'm like, that's really fun, that's really interesting. So it's hard to come by because, one, it's made with vibranium, and then 2, hard to make, and then hard to do anything with. So it's like, you better really know what you're doing. It's like when you open up a thing of super glue, like, okay, hold on, what needs to be fixed? All right, let's keep going down and go down to our Z position in bottoms to Harbonite. Harbonite? I don't know how to say this. I don't think I've heard the word out loud because it's from Tarzan. So first of all, a lot of you probably don't really know that Tarzan, those books get pretty crazy. You probably all know Tarzan is just a guy that hangs out in the jungle, hanging out with apes and stuff, swinging vines, that kind of thing. He does that, but eventually he goes into this hollow earth Pellucidor. He fights dinosaurs. It gets really weird. The idea that there's, the earth is like a shell, and then there's like another planet inside of Earth. And that's where Harbonite comes in, and they made some kind of aircraft, like the 230, someone in the comments will tell you. Maybe they won't, because nobody knows what I'm talking about, like Tarzan. Well, they made a ship of some kind that flies around, and it's like really cool and amazing. And it's made of Harbonite. It's made of this metal they found there. But then that's it. That's the only mention of it, and it's never brought up again. And the ship actually isn't really that great. Like, there's nothing about the metal. So that's why I put it on my bottoms. I'm like, that's kind of boring. This could have just been steel or aluminum, or just, you could have just said it's a combination of steel and aluminum. But I feel like those books were just kind of written like in this open dialogue where he was just coming up with ideas and just writing, and then it's just like, that was just an idea he had, so that's in the book. And then he didn't have another idea with it ever. So that's cool. That's why it takes our Z position here in tops and bottoms. Well, let's work our way up on tops and go to our number 1 position with Beskar. Beskar sure has taken off lately. I think there's a TV show or something that's been making it really popular. But I really actually do like what they've done with it. They've made it this rare metal that a certain people, the Mandalorians in Star Wars, knew how to use and work with. I was always kind of on the fence about the idea of a metal that could stop a lightsaber. I'm like, I don't know about that. But I've seen more and more of using, vibro weapons, electric weapons to fight lightsabers. I'm like, I like it now. I like that a lightsaber isn't unstoppable. I like that you could have a spear made of Beskar, and if you were really good with that spear and a really good fighter, you could fight a Jedi. Of course, the Jedi have the Force, and they have all these other ways to win. But they made it rare, and they made it a really interesting lore behind it that I'm like, I think Beskar is a really great addition, and it's why it takes the number 1 position in tops and bottoms. I feel like it would be really boring if I stopped there. So I'm actually going to do an in-between. This one's like right in the middle. Like, it's not a top, and it's not a bottom. I keep doing these hand motions. What's that about? Top, bottom? Anyway, it just kind of slides in between the two. It's the neutral area. It's gray. We're going to fit in today for our in-between dilithium from Star Trek. You might have heard Scotty complain about this a lot. It's what they use to power the Enterprise. So it's in between because I feel like it was kind of cool in a way that they're like, oh, this ship runs on this. The ship doesn't just run on gas or radiation. They made up their own thing, and it's something you find in space. All right. So maybe when we started slowly exploring space, we found this really cool fuel that can make us travel even further. But then sometimes it became kind of a crutch where there's episodes like, oh, we gotta get the dilithium, or we're out of gas. And it's like, well, wait a minute. This spaceship can do all these really cool, amazing things, but as long as we have dilithium. So it's bittersweet. I like it. I also hate it. That's why it makes our in-between spot. But I feel like you can go further down. Like, when you've gone down, and it's like, have you gone down far enough? Let's go down even further and go to our omega position bottom. Unobtainium. Seen in the Avatar movie. It's a little rock. Okay, you know how hard this is to get? You know how much this is worth? And it's called unobtainium. But we really don't know what it can do. They don't get into it. There's not even a line or two. In a 3-hour movie, they couldn't squeeze in just somebody saying, we need this unobtainium so we can blah, 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 blah. Also, they named it unobtainium. You could have had it both ways. You could have had a character that's all sciencey and nerdy go, yeah, we need to get the skakalogite, or whatever you want to call it. And then someone that goes, yeah, unobtainium. Like, the scientific term. But it's really just kind of boring. It's this, we need it. It's just the gold. It's kind of like that's what James Cameron was doing. He was copying all these other movies and stories that he'd heard over however many years. And it's always the hunt for gold. Got to get to the gold mine. He's like, well, I'm not going to have it be gold. I'm going to have it be unobtainium. But it also looks really boring in a world that is full of amazing, great creations, digital creatures. Although maybe that was kind of the point. But still, I feel like there needed to be something besides just, we gotta get it. That's why it takes our bottom position as the omega bottom. And since we're not stopping there, of course there is a toppest of tops. It is the S rank. Why S? Because some Japanese game did it once, and now everyone's decided that S overranks everything else. But Oliver, you did 1, 2, 3, not ABC. Anyway, the S rank is Ori Calcum. Ori Calcum is a legendary metal. It goes way back to the Iron Age, Bronze Age, going back. What was it? We don't really know. As things got lost in translation, and some cultures didn't necessarily have all the materials to make certain metals, it just became this legendary thing. Like, maybe you could find it. It's thought to be an alloy. It's thought to be a combination of copper and tin, or copper and zinc, which is brass and bronze, but then also maybe a little gold in there, so it's an alloy of 3 metals. It's not something you'd have an abundance of if you're throwing gold in there, but it was a very yellowish, brownish, goldish metal. But it took on other legends, as a lot of people didn't have it. And it's then been carried over in a lot of video games. Everyone wants to toss in Ori Calcum, which in a lot of games you actually can find it. You find like a chunk or a hunk of it, even though it was an alloy. But that's something we kind of discovered later when we actually found some of it, that like, this is supposedly Ori Calcum, but it's supposedly Ori Calcum from one culture, not necessarily the original culture or all the cultures. I just think it's a really fun metal, and it's Ori Calcum. It sounds really cool. And it just goes back. It's one of the oldest fictional metals, although it's not necessarily fictional. But I'm going to count it anyway, and it's going to be our toppest of tops. So let me know what you think of my tops and bottoms list. Was there any you disagreed with or felt I should have switched around? And also do the whole like and share and subscribe. But really I want to know what your opinions were on these metals, fictional metals. And I hope to see you next time.